Steve, was that the most complete performance of the season on Saturday? Does it feel like you're peaking at just the right time?
Well, I sincerely hope so, but as does performance go, then obviously when you're playing a big game, then you want a performance, and on Saturday it's fair to say that it's as good as it gets, in terms of the performance level. We had to still work really, really hard in the first 20-25 minutes, I have to say, but like lots of big games, the first goal is always crucial, and after that we played very, very well on the day. However, it's another game on Tuesday. It's gone, it's disappeared, and now we're all about preparing now properly for tomorrow night.
3-0 up, so how do you approach it?
Well, it's never over, that's for sure. There's no cliche, it's half time if you like, and we've seen teams come back in the past. So we've got to be professional about it and do what we have to do, and make sure that there's no complacency, and we get on with the job in hand. And as I've said before, we even played on Saturday. It's very difficult just send a team out to have a draw. So we'll go and be positive and try and win the match again. That's always got to be our attitude, and make sure we're ready.
The amount of experience you've got in the squad, does that help at this stage of the season?
Well, I always hoped that would be the key to it. We've got big players who've played in big occasions, and you need them to go and perform. And on Saturday, of course, they've stood up to the plate and made sure they've performed, which was good to see.
And in terms of complacency, does it help in that respect as well?
Well, I'll make sure that they're not complacent. We have to be ruthless in what we're going to do, and make sure by hook or by crook that we're through. It's a great opportunity we've given ourselves. That's all it is. We've got another game of football against a good side who will be hurt and disappointed after what's happened on Saturday, and they'll want to try and put things right, I'm sure. So we have to be wary of that and go with the attitude what we did Saturday. And if we play to anywhere near where we did on Saturday, then like I said before we played even the first leg, then we've got an outstanding chance.
Do you think the result on Saturday has helped to lift some of the disappointment of dropping into the playoffs?
Well, I think we've been able to cope with that over the last 2-3 weeks. It seems to have been from July that there's been a disappointment, and that's only normal because we've lost our Premier League status, and you have to deal with that. You have to deal with people losing their jobs, people taking wage cuts, people not involved anymore. You lose a huge chunk of your support too. So from day one, it's always been a disappointment. So we're trying to make amends, really. We've got an outstanding chance. We've got to win another two games, which I know we're capable of. And if we can get back there, then that'll make up for, hopefully, the disappointment that everybody felt.
The other semi-final tonight, how do you see that one? Have you got a preference for who you'd like to...
Well, you have to say you felt sorry for Chris and his team. I've never seen it in a big game where you lose 4 players within an hour and you're down to 10 men through injury. I mean, if there's anything against you, then of course it's gone against them. So I'm sure Chris will be looking for a little bit more luck, that's for sure. And who knows? It's another a game, and I'm sure Brighton will be wanting to do well in front of the home fans. They've only lost 5 games this season in the league, Brighton. That I think was the 6th on the other night. So all to play for, and we'll be watching on.
And final one from me. Big talking point over the weekend, the security scare at Old Trafford. How much of a concern is it within the game that there might be an incident inside a football stadium?
Well, after what's happened in France a couple of months ago, then I think everybody's wary, aren't they? That unfortunately they targeted her. And I think, the whisper around all of us is that, the threat is there, isn't it? If they really, really want to, to cause huge damage, then, I've watched, thankfully, in France, it didn't quite go to plan, thankfully, the bombs in the stadiums and all the rest of it. But it was an almighty fright for everybody yesterday, and thankfully it wasn't the real thing. But I think it's awoken everybody to the prospect that obviously things like that can happen.
Is Abel Hernandez solar powered? because sun shines and scores again.
You like that one, don't you?
Yeah, more than 20 goals.
Well, it didn't shine for 6 months and he scored a goal too, so let's not put that right. Look, he enjoys the warmer weather because, you know, that's what he's used to a bit, and even playing in Italy, you know, it's still a little bit, the winters aren't as harsh, and there's no disputing that he found that a difficulty to deal with all the things that you have to deal with in England. Of course, the one thing above all for a lot of foreign people coming here is, especially from warmer climates, I think Uruguay's warm anyway, isn't it? Is it? Have you checked on that?
I'm going into September, I'll let you know.
So he's had to adapt, but certainly he seems to come to life when the weather's a bit warmer, and he feels better in himself.
The great Giovanni was just the same here as well. I just want to talk to you about the game at Derby, and you know, winning is everything, but were you pleased with the quality of your football against Derby County?
Well, we've seen it. That's how well we beat Middlesbrough handsomely. That's why we're one of the only teams to beat Leicester in the Cup. That's why we beat Burnley handsomely too. Onward day, we're a very, very good team. Unfortunately, we throw a curveball in now and again, which is a team, if you'd have seen us 2 weeks ago, like you probably did against Bolton, then you said that team's not capable of playing like that the way it did on Saturday. And that has been the overriding problem that we've had all season, really, is to keep that consistency. And too much we've gone up and down, but when we've played well, we've got players here who can play at the highest level. And I think on Saturday we've seen that. We need a repeat performance of it. We need to keep the spirit amongst them good. We need to keep that energy levels the way they are. And then, of course, if we can get through, whoever we play in the final, we know we've got an outstanding chance.
Who's in goal?
At the moment, well, if there's a risk about McGregor, we'll see how he is this morning. If there's a risk, then I've got no problem with Eldon at all. You know, he's proved an able deputy. He's come in and kept a clean sheet and did very well. You know, that's testament to him that he's kept himself in good nick. He trains every day. He's got a good enthusiasm about him, which is always difficult when you're a number 2 goalkeeper, but fair play to him. Every time we've asked him to come into the team, he's always done okay.
You've got a bit of a bang late on, is he all right?
Yeah, he's okay. He's okay, yeah.
Steve, do you go with the same group of players that performed so well against Derby for this match on Tuesday night?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would be a fool if I'm going to do anything different. You know, we've got to go and match the performance, and it's a game of football, and if we're capable of winning 3-0, so is Derby. You know, so we can't take anything for granted. We've given ourselves an outstanding chance, that's all it is, and we must make sure that we maintain that focus and the way we were on Saturday, because if we're anywhere near that, then we'll be okay.
But is there that added motivation because of the resounding win that they inflicted over you just last month and obviously earlier in the season here at home?
Yeah, I mean, they've got you know, they've beaten us twice before we've beaten them, so that's what we've got to guard against. At the end of the day, they're a good side, and there was nothing in it for 20-25 minutes. There was nothing in it at all, so we have to maintain them levels we've just shown, and that's what I'm going to try and hammer home over the next 24 hours, that all we've done is give ourselves an outstanding chance. So our home record is good. We've got to maintain it and carry it forward.
And the fact you spoke about the disappointment, and it stems back to July following the relegation, and obviously you've got the disappointment of missing out automatically, but you touched on this on Saturday about the fact that maybe your players have had longer to get themselves ready and focused for these 2 games and possibly...
Yeah. Well, I mean, always in my experience of it is, you know, of if you're going into the playoffs, if you're going in there with a bit of momentum that you've sneaked in on the last day, for example, that team always seems to do okay. When I did it with Birmingham, we were on a run, nobody gave us a chance. We went 12-13 unbeaten, went into the playoffs on the last day, went into the top 6 on the last day. And we hadn't been there for 6 months, 7 months, wherever it was. So you need that bit of momentum usually. It's usually a help. And I think what happened 2-3 weeks ago to be fair, that's why I tried to freshen the team up, put then fresh people in, because we were trying to get over the disappointment that we've missed out. But what that enabled me to do was freshen a few up, especially the two fullbacks. We gave them a week off because they'd played more than anybody else. And I think that little break has certainly helped them, because it's not often you score from your both fullbacks, both high up the pitch, both at the same time. But the energy levels, what they've shown anyway, certainly done them the world of good.
And you talk about this outstanding opportunity. Does it help that there aren't any distractions from a regular season?
There's no distractions to it now. It comes round quick. There's a big old wait, mind, till the final, but it comes round quick. It's here upon us, another game, and they'll be really, really hurt and disappointed at what's happened Saturday. So we've got to expect some sort of backlash from them, which I expect. You know, they're a big club with big support and a big, huge tradition, who will be hurting of what's just happened to them, and they'll be desperate to try and put that right. So we've got to guard against that. The tie ain't over. We've got an outstanding chance, but it ain't over, because we've seen strange things happening in football, you know, and we must guard against that.
And if I could just ask one question relating to what happened yesterday. Despite all the negativity and what actually happened with this training device, was it, I guess, pleasing to see the way that stewards, the club, police all reacted to the situation?
Even with the device, when you think training device, it just shows you how thorough, and unfortunately they've left the device behind, so it seems, but it shows that how thorough clubs are now having to be. I think we're all under no illusion after what happened in France a couple of months ago that the threat is there, and of course, you know, a football stadium can be probably an easy target to cause chaos. Thankfully, it wasn't real, but I think it's highlighted the fact that even though, you know, Man United are doing drills on these sort of things, shows you of the threat that obviously is still there.